Hey Dave, how you doing, man?
Hey man, hi.
Wow, wow, this is an honor right here. Sorry, I just get a little fanboyish. How are you doing?
All right, you want to see if I can turn on the video as well?
I don't have a video camera on my side.
Okay.
I just have an old, outdated piece of shit laptop from like 10 years ago.
Uh-huh. All
but
right.
I think I can see you though, maybe. Oh,
All right.
I guess it's not gonna do that. But
All right. You can see me here, right?
my computer's not letting me do that.
Oh, it's not letting you. All right. And I can see me, but I can't see you.
That's technology for you.
Yeah.
So,
So let's go for it now because I was going to try to take a nap. I just had a heavy conversation with my partner and I was going to take a nap, but you got to go out. So let's just talk.
So, the first thing I was gonna ask you is I kind of know, but I don't know the full story. How did MDC start and the transition of names between the stains and all that?
Yeah. Well, I came down to Austin, Texas in 1976, and I kind of graduated high school in '73, and kind of went out and had Rocky Mountain High with my friends. We got a job at a high school, and we saved up some money, and we went out to Colorado, went out to Montana, went up to West Yellowstone, Montana. Really beautiful place out there. But and just kind of floated around and really kind of found Austin, Texas. I was just looking for the ultimate college town that was kind of easygoing and favored music. And back then it was like country swing. Down here Marshall Ball, and I was into Willie Nelson. And of course, there was like Roxy music and the New York Dolls and stuff like that. And I was aware of all of it, and Lou Reed. Uh, but I kind of came down to Austin, Texas, and they had a great scene here in 1977, 78. They had a band called the Huns, and that's where I met Gary Floyd of the Dicks and Randy Biscuit of the Big Boys.
Nice.
And it was just very cool people. And next thing you know, I went from taking courses at University of Texas to, opening up for the Dicks and the Big Boys. And that was always, just a thrill. I was very inspired. They're two out guys, and just beautiful in their own way. Gary Floyd was more of the Maoist, cynical, blah, blah, and Randy Biscuit was just this energetic, positive, sweet person. Uh, and I caught up in the punk rock scene with them. And my first band was called the Rejects, and that slowly morphed into the Stains. And we did the Stains. It started early, like I think our first gig was like May of 1980, and I got into it, and I really just loved it. I found Ron Posner, I found Franco Mars, and my old friend Al Schultz, Auschwitz, me down to Austin, Texas. And it was the perfect storm of things for us because Al was a fast drummer, really liked Buddy Rich and really liked Billy Cobham, and it just mixed. And we were kind of doing our Dead Boys kind of punk rock thing, kind of just slow and just grinding it out in that old '70s punk way. And we just kicked it up a gear and went into hardcore. And we kind of at the same time saw DOA, Black Flag, and Fear when they came through Austin. We went down to sound check and met them and checked out all their vans. And they all had these little vans that they were living in and just going for it. And really, kind of realized right then and there that it wasn't going to be like some A&R person going to come and sign you and you're going to make
Yeah.
to the top and you'd be opening for the Clash, in 6 months. That you really was get your own van and do it yourself. And at the same time, they started becoming aware of Dave Reagan Youth in New York and of Ian MacKaye and in Washington. I started pen paling with all these people like Pig Champion up in Portland. And finally, I wrote a letter to some of the people in San Francisco, and it got to Biafra. And Biafra loved the John Wayne was a single
I love that song.
that the Stains had put out in '81. And in fact, Maximum Rock and Roll and Jim Johanna really liked it, and they put it on the radio there. They had a specific, chain of radio stations
Damn.
that would play punk music. It was really, really great time coming out of the late '70s, early '80s in the Bay Area there.
You got John
And
Wayne on the radio?
and and they actually, yeah, they had like Pacifica Radio and Tim Johanna and Max Rock Hall. They had all kinds of playlists, and it was before the internet. They'd get into community radio or some kind of public access or national public radio, and he had hours where he'd play in San Francisco. It would be like on Tuesday night between 10 and 12 or something like that, and that's where we kind of came to San Francisco for the first time, and what happened was Joe Biafra invited us up to play with him, and we went on a 2-day tour. It was basically, that lasted 6 weeks, where we played in July 2nd with the Dead Kennedys at the Mabuhay Gardens, and then we played August 12th with Black Flag at the Cuckoo's Nest.
Damn.
And we just hung out with all the punks in between. And it was really a transformative experience, seeing all the punk that was going on in California. They had a place called Okie Dogs where all the people hung out in this big parking lot. It was like a hot dog stand.
Opie Dogs?
And literally hundreds of punks would come. It was kind of near Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, in LA. And it was just this great spirit and time. And somewhere in there, the Stains, we realized the Black Flag gig, we were playing with the LA Stains. And, I was like, they termed it Battle of the Stains. They really wanted us to know what the deal with the Stains was. We said, we're dropping the Stains. We're going to be the Dead Cops, or the millions of dead cops, or 3 million dead cops, or, we're working on it. And they were like, well, great. And we all shook hands. And it was Holmes' first gig with Black Flag, truly back in the day. It was at the Cuckoo's Nest at Costa Mesa in south of LA, kind of Orange County, like an outer suburb of LA. And it was a heady time for us, so we renamed our band MDC, Millions of Dead Cops, and then we kind of shortened it down to MDC just because going through borders and the police.
Yeah.
1981, 1982, telling a cop you name your band with Millions of Dead Cops, it's still not fun. But 40 years ago, people were ready. I was told 3 times I was going to get marched out into a field and bullet put in my head. And I just said, well, sir, it's just freedom of speech, but I'm going to consider what you're saying, and I considered it, and we became MDC. And then we started changing, detracting from the Millions of Dead Cops by doing the Multi-Death Corporation. We did an album called Millions of Damn Christians, and we did the Millions of Dead Children single. And I started making MDC this, acronym for meaning a host of meanings. So the first album, and probably the most infamous, was Millions of Dead Cops, and that was put out in 1982. And so that's the first. That's how we became. The Rejects became the Stains, became MDC, and then we toured Europe with the Dead Kennedys in 1982 in November and December. It was wide. It just, it just broadened the horizons and realized there was a whole world of punk rock out there. And then we came back here and we did the Rock Against Racism for a little while, and then it turned into Rock Against Reagan. And that was 1983 and 84. We played at all these state capitals. We played at the Lincoln Memorial with the Yippies. We threw joints into the crowd. We played with really great activists, inspired gigs that were on the state capitol steps of Madison, Wisconsin, of Columbus, Ohio. We did one in Amherst, Massachusetts. We did one in Springfield, Illinois. Did one in Champlain, Illinois.
You ever
Uh,
you ever play in Moline, Illinois, or Davenport, Iowa?
Moline. I played Moline.
That's where I live.
Oh,
I just moved here 4 months ago, but yeah, Todd Swallow of the Necros told me that he played in
there's a
Davenport.
Moline, Michigan too, though, isn't there?
Oh, I have no idea. I just know I live
Yeah,
in Moline,
I'm
Illinois.
getting it real confused. But yeah, we were in the Midwest there. We just really saturated, and it was really an interesting time because at that time it was mixing punk with hardcore and then with a political yippie angle that never really came out quite right in the punk rock world. But we worked with it and we broadened our horizons and you got to do some political statements and musical protests right on the Capitol steps of the. We played at the Boston Common in Boston, Massachusetts. So we played on a flatbed truck up and down Fifth Avenue at Washington Square Park. Uh, we played Central Park with Rock Against Racism with the Bad Brains. Some incredible stuff, you know. It just it kind of went from being a backwaters band that was, you know, lucky to get an opening spot on a Tuesday night in Austin, and a year later we were, you know, we were playing on flatbeds in New York City, and just, you know, uh, it was definitely very interesting times going from the late '70s into the '80s. You know, you had Jimmy Carter and, you know, Willie Nelson smoking pot at the White House, and all of a sudden it was Ronald Reagan's and everything that Reagan was about, everything from training, you know, training Green Beret, training El Salvadorian troops, and just awful kind of stuff. And then what went on with the Nicaraguans versus the Contras, you know, the continuation of the anti-communist party and all the indigenous people that were killed by, you know, United States trained forces. It was awful in that way as well. You know, it's just it still goes on to a certain degree, but you know the times have changed.
I was gonna say real quickly. So last night I discovered Millions of Dead Cowboys. I knew about Mein Kampf because I got that when it came out, but I didn't
The
know.
album has just come out, and I haven't even seen it yet.
I love it.
Cool,
Like
man.
I know there's many punk artists who have tried to do folk and country that just, they can't do it, but I put you on the same tier as Greg Gaffin. You two just have the voice for country slash folk. Like
Cool.
I really enjoyed that album.
That's really cool. I'm glad you like it. You know, because I like it. You know, I'm always wondering if it's gonna make it. You know, how much people. You know, like in the Roman arena in the Colosseum with the emperor throws thumbs up or thumbs down.
It's kind of I'm a little insecure myself because I'm a noise musician and I've got a few albums that I have yet to release because I'm too scared of what the
Yeah,
reaction's gonna be.
you know, because I've made a certain place for myself in American hardcore and punk rock, and then to try to do it in another arena,
Yeah.
uh, you know, I'm just crossing my fingers that it's going to get wide acceptance, and I realize it's going to it's going to go limited in punk world, but I'm wondering the new worlds it'll enter into because it's more accessible.
I think it'll do perfectly well. I mean, I was telling my friend last night because I sent it to him because I found it online, but I was like, if
Do you remember
millions,
any of the songs? Did you listen to all
yeah, I
of it,
listened to
or
the whole thing. It's an album where you converted your hardcore anthems into folk and country, like John Wayne and I Remember and all those tracks. You converted them into folk and country, and I was sitting there thinking that if this were your last record, it would be a perfect end. Like, I mean, I hope it's not your last record, but I like the tune of it.
Yeah, we're working on a record right now, and you know, and it's not my last Millions of Dead Cowboys record either, because we have a slew of other songs that didn't get used, and we're still working on, and you know, anything that we decide to give any of our hard songs, slow it down, or give it, just give it more of a country edge, and you can do that with everything. But anyway,
Oh,
uh, thanks for liking it.
of
Really,
course, of course. Yeah, I just
does my
discovered it
heart
like
good.
2 hours after we talked last night. I discovered it because I went to Discogs and tried to find a copy of your first album because I've owned a CD of it, but I've never been able to find a Millions of Dead Cops, the first album, on cassette or vinyl for a cheap price. But I was like, oh shit, they just released a new album. I better listen to that. Yeah, I didn't even hear about it. But another question I had for you, and I've actually had this question. I'm 26, by the way. I've had this question since I was about 13 years old. I've just never been able to talk to you before. What is the song Timmy Yo about on Magnus Dominus Corpus?
Uh, well, that song it's pretty straightforward. I was feeling in uh, a sad kind of bluesy way. It was like, not the period between '97 and 2001. Timmy Yo died. Timmy Yohannan, the editor of Maximum Rock and Roll.
Oh, that's who that is.
That's who that is.
Okay,
And
now the song makes sense.
he was a pillar with the magazine. He was a pillar with starting the clubs he started. He was a pillar with the radio stations that I was talking about in the early '80s. Gave me my big boost. One of the few people in my life that have ever lent me $5,000 and really essentially almost gave it to me. Uh, like and yet, he was a person who had his power issues, and kind of in the, it's more of a child of the '60s. If I was a child of the '70s, you know, uh,
Yeah.
and some parts of it was more radical, but parts of it was more old school. You know, uh, I was a little more Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and he was more, Alice's Restaurant or something. Um, and but it was like in all the bands, all the bands I mentioned, just how far above they got, and you know, just kind of became kind of a big business and a power trip, and I guess it always was, and maybe that's what it was supposed to be, and I like to do business myself, but all those things. Well, all the bands making $30 or more at the door. You made your big score. You got houses in Hollywood Hills. It's exactly what it is. You know, yeah, hanging out with Blink 182 and looking at their, automobile collections and blah blah blah. It just becomes, you know, something that I didn't get into this so I could get a car collection of all the hot
Yeah.
sports cars I like between the 55 and, 69, and have 20 cars in my garage in my backyard. And that's how these people get. They're millionaires.
Did No Effects or Bad Religion or Rancid ever hear the song and respond to it at all?
No one ever responds to it personally. I get the cold shoulder from everybody.
Maybe they're too afraid.
They hope I die and go away, but they really blew it because no Trump, no KKK got pumped up with
Yeah,
Green
I
Day.
remember hearing that, and Green Day played it live at that iHeartRadio thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They played it at the American Music Awards.
I was only a little
Uh,
disappointed because they didn't mention or credit
right. And they
MDC. I'm
played it
like,
on, well, Jimmy Kimmel or something late at night.
yeah,
But yeah. And that all happened, and yet these guys, I know they're just punk rockers. I know they just grew up, and everyone can just, it's a money world, and you kind of prove you've made it when you can flash money, to a certain degree. That is true.
yeah.
To a large degree, to a certain degree, it's not true. And money isn't everything, and it's not mostly everything. You can have a lot of money, you can spend it stupidly, and you can be broke, or you can invest in apartment buildings or whatever, and get rich, from it all. I just, the punk rock feeling was that rose from me, that came from the underground, that sang "John Wayne was a Nazi" or "My Family's a Little Weird"
I
or
love that song.
"I Remember" or "I Hate Work." we're just coming from this desperate young person just trying to figure it out, and being filled with angst and insecurity about the whole world and my place in it. And that to me was like what punk, truly was. And, and I think all those bands I mentioned, I like them all to a certain degree. I love the Rancid guys. I like No Effects. I mean, I don't like No Effects per se. I didn't like in the early punks. They really took the piss out of punk and liberal animation. It was all so funny, blah blah blah. And I'm an animal liberation person,
I am well aware of
so
that.
it wore on me heavy. But I realized he tried to do good things, and he punked the vote and or early, to vote against Bush and blah blah blah. And Bush still won, and and I just had to say what I had to say, and I am what I am. And if they don't want to hang out and talk with me or give me gigs or acknowledge me, that's okay. That's their shtick. I have my shtick, and I couldn't do it any other way.
Yeah, man, that first I've listened to. I mean, I know most of your albums, but there's some I haven't heard. I've heard obviously the first one, Smoke Signals, Metal Devil Cokes, Magnus, Dominus, Corpus, Mein Trump, and Cowboys. Those are the ones I've heard so far. The other ones
Yeah,
I can't
you can go
find.
online and find them. There's the Hey Cop by the Face Like
Oh
Yours.
yeah,
There's
that one
really
too. That one
great
too.
video from Russia. That was the album that Chris Wilder and Erica Liss are on with me in Auschwitz. It came out in 1990. That was a cool album. And I'm not sure what else I got. The Metal Devil Cokes. I'm not sure if you said that one. And then there's the Millions of Damn Christian one. You can just check it up if you want to check it out. I'm really glad you got the Millions of Dead Cowboys, and I I look forward to doing acoustic touring because it's so fucking easy. It's less wear and tear on my body. When I go out with a whole band on tour, it's really great, but it rips me up because it's so physical. A lot of times it's you're jumping around, you're feeling the music, you're performing. We went on tour, we opened for the Dead Kennedys and TSOL and blah blah blah. And you're so exhausted at the end of it. These acoustic gigs, I can do three a night. Like less wear and tear on this 60-year-old person's body.
Yeah, you've been in punk rock music for quite some time. Almost damn near 50 years. 40, 50
Yeah,
years.
yeah. My first gig was in 19 New Year's Eve, 1974.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
That's
I
fucking
played with
Ramones
Auschwitz,
era.
and we played Grateful cover band songs. We
Damn, that's Ramones
played Going
era.
Down the Road Feeling Bad and Big River and just all these stuff back then. And Dylan songs and I came from a lot of different places musically. I really a big Beatle fan, childless. Listened to a lot of, even though a child of the '70s, I listened to a lot of that late '60s kind of Motown meets rhythm and blues meets Otis Redding meets the Rolling Stones meets the Animals meets Tom Jones.
Yeah, that's one thing I
You
love
know,
about MDC
there
is,
was a period in the '60s radio. They kind of lost out like in the early '70s when FM rock came,
yeah,
where you, where you could play whole album sides, and it became, hi, my name is, it was just more mystical, and as opposed to it's Cousin Brucey. Next song coming up is Rolling Stones, blah blah blah, and then next coming up is Jackson Five. One bad apple and spoil the whole bunch, girl. And you had to live through and hear that kind of cousin Brucey kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm glad we're live. I'm glad we're doing it. And hey, I'm ready to take a break. We could do this another time.
oh, I only had a
Uh,
few more questions for you, actually.
we have a question. Let's go.
Um, so this is a current event, and since your band is called Millions of Dead Cops, I'm sure people would like to hear. Uh, what's your take on the current Blue Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter stuff going on?
Oh boy. You know, I've read it's 5 and 6 times more possible if you're a person of color and you're doing something that could be questionably wrong or being arrested. 6 times more chance that you'll be, murdered. Now that doesn't even have to say just hassle, and cops hassle, they hassle people in the ghetto. It's been a long-term thing. They go around and community policing and what Rudy Giuliani did in New York City's where it was just busted people for nothing all the time, zero tolerance. It was very cold, and the kids out in the suburbs didn't have to put up with that shit, having their rights violated, always being searched and shaken down, always treated like shit. That's just part of what's going on. And so Black Lives Matter. Now, people don't want to say Blue Lives Matter. Yeah, ethically, all lives do matter. But policemen carry guns
Mm-hmm.
and they carry nightsticks and they hassle people and they sometimes murder people and kill people by their putting their knees on their back of their necks or on their throats. And that's just a truism that has to be addressed and has not been addressed. You read it every 5 days. Some new person killed here, a police raid gone bad there, and they're just killing African Americans quite often. And they kill everybody, but they kill African Americans and people of color, Spanish people, you know, just worse than they do white people. It's
Yeah, I get what you
a
mean.
certain kind of thing. I know myself from being a punk rocker. I've been, thrown to the ground. I had a police stick put to my head, and and with a cop standing on my head, and I said to her, "I'm sorry, sir." And, I could just tell the guy, and the guy like took his foot off my head, said, "Get the fuck out of here." You know, I, I don't think I would have gotten treated so lightly if I had been another color skin. It also helps, how you communicate with people, and that's a lot to do with it all. But I supported the protests. I'm appalled by the police killing so many African American people, them not being more reflective about it, them being so argumentative about it. What's going on in New York City? All the thugging. I saw the pictures of the cops just beating up people during the Gay Day
Yeah, it was
parade.
sick.
It's off the hook and not cool. And they have to, I'm not sure if it's defund the police or it's,
I'd
get
at
them
least say
get them
reform.
creative community policing where they're in the get, they have police partner with the communities to to do their job in a more ethical and a more moral and a more satisfactory way for the people they're trying to protect. And that
Yeah.
and that's been going on, and and as far as Trump sending in the border police and the
National
Homeland
Guard.
Security police, that is just such a recipe for disaster. It's almost like historically, it's almost like the Spanish sending in the special police to clear out the Moors, the Jews, and the pagans. And it's just like historical. It's historically just wrong
Can
and abusive. And yeah, that's my feeling on all that. I went to the demonstrations here. I was there with this young man got shot with
oh
a
shit.
plastic bullet. I gave to his fund. I hear he's doing better
That's
now.
good.
And but not all of them are doing better now. I was right at that outside the Portland police. I mean, the Austin, Texas police station. I say Portland because I used to live in Portland, and now I'm living in Austin, Texas. Uh, and they were just coming out with these little rifles and making pop, pop, pop. And I learned and understand they are plastic bullets,
They
and
still
they
hurt.
hurt, and they deform, and they take out people's eyes. It's just awful, and they got to get together. I'm hoping for the best. I'm actually registered. I'm going to vote for against Donald Trump,
I was
and
going to bring that subject up.
I encourage people to register. I registered people 2 years ago. I get a certain amount of flack for it, from the ultra radical community who think I'm caving into the system, and I don't care. I don't care. I'd rather have Joe Biden as grandpa than Donald Trump. You know, Joe Biden,
Yeah.
seems like somewhat of a reflective man. I'm not going to say every policy he's ever supported has been a winner, blah, blah, blah. But, there's a lot more life going on, a lot more light going on, as he would say, than Donald Trump.
See,
And so I'm registered and I'm going to go vote. And I encourage other people to do. If you've looked at my Facebook page, I think if we become friends on Facebook, you'll see more what I'm doing on a daily basis. The new song I put out. Did you get the new song I put out? Thin in the Herd.
what's Thin in the Herd? I don't think I've heard that one yet, no.
It's on the Millions Dead Cops page on Facebook.
I'll
Please
have to
give it a
check
shot.
that. The other question I was going to ask is, since you've obviously lived through multiple presidencies, what was your initial reaction to Donald Trump has become president of the U.S.?
I was scared of it from the very beginning. I didn't like it. Though I watched it, back in 2002 or something. I watched Celebrity Apprentice for a couple of seasons. You know, uh, and it went from like, wow, this crazy guy that might be fun to sit next to on an airplane for an hour, to like, wow, this scary motherfucker from hell, who's really a fascist, and leans that way despite all his celebrity. Uh, and the shock has gone to worse and worse, and I'm very happy that they used my song to no war, no KKK, to no Trump, no KKK, no fascist
Yeah.
USA. And I've been watching it get worse and worse. Here he is. He might try to stay in office. He probably will
I'm
do
actually
everything
a
he
little
can.
worried about that, to be honest.
Yeah, we all should be. And
He doesn't
and
he
and
doesn't
and
like to
and the and the
lose.
and the right wing uh, and the right wing abuse. The right wing, destabilizing the government if Biden wins. I think it's all a possibility. Buy a gun and be ready and be a citizen. That's my thought.
Is Trump worse than Reagan?
I think they're two peas in the same pod, but I think Trump is even worse than Reagan.
I can't
There's
really
certain
comment
parts
on
of
Reagan because I'm
Ronald
26,
Reagan
but
that we're nationalists, we're fucked up, but Trump is even a globalist. He doesn't care. He'll eat human stew with fucking Pol Pot.
yeah, he is.
Quote me on that one. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. Okay.
Thank you so much for the sentiment. I really appreciate it.
All right. Let's stay in touch.
Yeah, of course, bro. Have a lovely day.
Check out my Millions Dead Cops page on Facebook and look for the song.
I will definitely do that. Thank you, man.
Thanks, man. Let's stay in touch.
Okay.
Ciao, bella.
Yeah. Cool.